Hi guys. It is now 10:20 a.m. on Thursday, and what I decided to do was to make some food to eat. And I didn't even know if I was hungry, but I just decided I'm going to make it, and that way if I am hungry, I can eat, but I don't have to eat. And so I was making eggs on the stove, and then I was like, what could I do to kind of maximize this experience without, you know, making it harder on myself? And I decided to turn on day 3 replay of the tapping with the miracle. So I turned it on, and as I'm cooking the eggs, and then he got to the point where you actually, no, and then I was like, I'm gonna clean just like this tiny area, like basically both sides of the stove, while the eggs are cooking, while I'm listening to this thing. And so I did that. And then when he, was like, okay, close your eyes, like actually start the tapping, I was able to like turn off the stove and sit and actually do the tapping. Anyway, I'm just so grateful because I released tears, and yes, a part of me, but I made myself this kind of agreement that if I'm releasing tears as I'm moving forward versus being stuck, and I just said, just keep tapping, but release the tears. So I literally kept doing this as I was releasing the tears, if that makes sense. And I think that's a really productive way to not confront, but respect and release emotion. So that's ultimately exciting. And um, and then I even like set a timer before that of like, I'm not gonna check anything on like my phone for at least an hour. So the facts are, I cleaned both sides of the stove and like the cabinets, and I made food, and I did, a tapping thing. But it didn't feel like multitasking. It felt like support is the best way I can describe it. So I'm proud of myself for doing that. I have some like exhaustion now, but I have to remind myself I felt exhausted beforehand, and then I released, I released more, which is going to temporarily make you more tired, but it's very productive. It's just that I never have done that before. If you told me, well, like I said, the thing I want to create in workplaces where people have a place they can release emotion, if you can count on it's, truly private, and you could release emotion every day, eventually you're not going to need to do that. Or like, it's not going to be a big deal because you're keeping up with it, right? It's the soda bottle. And if you let out a little bit, if you can let out a little bit, it's hard to explain, but it's the truth. So, and especially, I'm telling myself, the emotions came up because I'm reaching for something bigger. So I have two choices. At the end of the day, I have two choices when that happens, right? I can back away from the waterfall, or I can go into the waterfall. And I'm proud of myself because I went into the waterfall, and this temporary, exhaustion, I'm reminding myself it existed before, so at least I did some very deep work, you know? So it's just exciting because I think I had said a couple of days ago about how I want to almost create like a curriculum for myself so that I I feel like I'm making progress, and I'm really addressing the root of things so that it can actually change, while also soothing that part of like at the same time, I'll do what it takes. But I'm not going to consciously make that my first choice of suffering. Yeah. So, for example, just like I said for the storm, if the sirens are going off, we will go in the bathroom and we will huddle, and I will be physically uncomfortable. And this is going to sound silly, but that's my point. But I'm not going to stay in the bathroom all day long uncomfortable because there might be the storm alarm might go off, right? It's the same way with this. It's like I've done a ton of work to kind of curate my life so far. And, when I think of the ideal job for me, it would be helping people in a way that maximizes my gifts for them and also does not take away from, my daughter and like my life. And I loved how even the Brad said, we're not going to, whatever he said, like, we're not going to do a session at 2 a.m. because I wouldn't be able to give my best then, right? Which makes perfect sense. But that's my point, is the things that pull at me are kind of like, well, you just don't have the support you need, so you can't do it. And it's like, maybe not. Like, meaning maybe you're wrong. And that's what the miracle thing is about, is being open to almost like divine intervention, but for me, while still having a firm grasp on like the steps I'm taking. So bottom line is I had a very productive hour, both, logistically speaking and also mindset speaking. And, they say that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So it's like, isn't that interesting? And if the people I spend the most time with right now, happen to be virtual, but they're positive in my life, that actually is better than real people, like in real life, but they're not. And all they do is drag me back down. One of the quickest ways to kill someone's dream is to be like, well, how are you going to do that? You can't do that, right? But that doesn't mean it's not possible, So anyway, I released a lot of tears, which is not fun. And it's not, comfortable. But my higher self knows it was productive. So I'm just going to keep that faith of like, that is productive. And I'm not sitting there and ruminating on things and then getting upset. It's literally like, as I'm reaching for a better life, that stuff's coming up because I'm not numbing it. Now, if I was numbing it, I don't know. I don't want to do that unless I need to, basically. Because I don't even think that's true. And I'm reminding myself of that. Like the times where I numbed it, it just got worse because then what I was doing is I wasn't feeling the pain. So I wasn't having boundaries. So I was keeping unhealthy people, to say the least, in my life. But I actually do need to feel the pain. Meaning I need to realize when a human right or, a boundary is being stepped on. And that's what I was telling my friend yesterday, like, to feel anger because a boundary is being, disregarded or, disrespected is a natural, positive reaction. Now, obviously what you do with the anger, but if it's like, if you were, calm and you afterwards and you were like, well, this person, whatever it is. And then I felt anger And then I'm like, what's wrong with me that I feel anger? It's like, no, that's actually what's supposed to happen. Especially when it's a very, like, if someone's screaming in your face, that's a natural human reaction to be like, this isn't okay with me, type of thing. So that's what happened. That's what's happening with me, with my daughter, is like the past 2 Sundays, I, did awesome. And then I'm like, okay, and now I need to lay down for a bit. And when it was like, no, you can't, it's like, well, wait, yeah, I can. I need to, first of all, but also I'm not doing anything wrong, And so then just exploring that. So, and if this seems like a lot of work, yeah. But that's where I'm coming from, and my shirt actually says, don't follow a path, make one. Or maybe it says make your own. No, it says don't follow a path, make one. Because I just always wanted to do that. And it's interesting when you talk to someone who's not thinking that way, and you try to say something you want to do, they're like, well, that won't work because of this, But it's like, but new things do happen, like, So my point is I spent, I don't know, an hour and a half or an hour, doing that stuff. And it was really, really productive and also healing, even though in the midst of healing, it doesn't feel awesome because you're facing the pain, which is counterintuitive. It's counter whatever, But if you ask me, do I regret doing that? No, I don't. So I'm keeping up with my target of not doing something to the extent I can control, not doing something that I regret, right? So anyway, so now I've eaten, which I don't know. I mean, I'm glad because I ate protein. And I've drank almost 80 ounces already of water. I have to remind myself I just released some more, so I need to drink even more water. And, I'm on track because I even did some cleaning, and the goal for today was just to rest. But this is a type of rest because it's just releasing some. And again, the point wasn't to release, the point was to move forward. So I'm proud of myself for facing those dragons, basically, and slaying them today in a very loving and productive way. And now I think I'm going to kind of figure out what's next. What time is it? It's 10:33 a.m. So I've got dinner figured out, which is awesome. And, I think I'm going to add this to kind of my list of effective routines or effective things for me, is to do the body doubling with something that's interactive. I think that's going to be really good for me. Because it's kind of like if someone says, oh, if you want to go for a walk, go on a walk with a friend. I would do that if that was available to me, but it's not right now. So it's like, okay, how can I still get that feeling of support, right? And thank goodness we have internet. Like, that's incredible. I hope people watch my videos and it inspires them to do something. And like I said, I'm going to make that community so we can really walk alongside each other and understand and have this dichotomy of being right where we are for each other and also not holding each other back, right? So, like, whatever you want to accomplish that day, being right there with that person, and at the same time, like, figure out what's stopping them from doing it, support each other, and then let's say they say, after talking, I now want to do, and say it sounds like a lofty, quote unquote, goal. That's where it's not like, well, how are you going to do that? We don't do that crap to each other, It was 1444 as I said that, because that, yeah, I think that's definitely a hidden pitfall, depending on who you're around, is you're either around people who don't understand trauma, don't understand things that you maybe feel like you should be able to do, but you're stuck. Or people who are stuck themselves and they're kind of like, well, don't do too much. You're like, but I want to, right? And that's kind of where I'm at, where I don't mind going through the pain because I've seen how it transforms. And I think that's what he said too during the visualization at the end, was to let the shower like rinse off basically the stuff that's not yours, so you can come back to being more what you are, which is love and light, you know? So anyway, I'm just really grateful. Love you guys.